In the next part of our experiment, we will use the coffee cup, fancy cup, and metal cup. A coffee cup. It's made out of paper and a little bit of wax. And so we'll take some measurements regarding the fancy cup without a lid, the fancy cup with a lid, and a double-walled fancy cup with a lid. So once again, to keep everything the same, we're going to take the same amount of cold water. So I'm going to measure out the same amount, which is 1 cup or 8 ounces of cold water, and we'll put it in all 3 of the cups. Next, we'll add our thermometers. We'll give the thermometers just a moment to get their reading so that they have a fair reading for each of them. And then we'll zoom in here to get the measurements. Once the lids are on, so let's zoom in and see where we're at. The first cup, we are at about -1 to 2 degrees below zero. Second cup, we're at about 2 degrees above zero. And we're at about 2 degrees above zero. So let's start our timer. And we'll wait for 15 minutes. And now that we are at our 15-minute mark, let's zoom in and see what our temperatures are. In our first one, we are at about 1 degree Celsius. And in our second cup, we're at about 4 degrees Celsius. And our last one, we're at about 4 degrees. The next cups we will experiment with are the plastic cups that are double-walled. So we'll take the ice cold water and once again pour 8 ounces, 1 cup worth. Why? So that all of the cups have the same amount of water. so that it's a constant variable. We're going to do them at the same time and measure them for the same amount of time. Again, for 15 minutes. So 1 cup worth for both. And we'll wait a minute before we start the timer to let the thermometers adjust so that we can get an accurate reading of the initial temperatures of the water in both cups. Both of these thermometers work correctly, so they have accurate readings. So we will zoom in and see the temperature is about 3 degrees Celsius, and the second cup is also at about 3 degrees Celsius. So that's our starting temperature. We'll start the time for 15 minutes. We'll wait and see what happens. After we put the lid on the second cup. There's the 15-minute mark. So let's stop our timer and let's zoom in to our cups, to the thermometers, and let's see what the temperature is. This temperature is reading about 4 degrees Celsius, and this one is reading almost 5, we'll say 5 degrees Celsius at the 15-minute mark. Next, we have our metal cups. We're going to begin on the left with a metal cup without a lid, and on the right, a metal cup with a lid. We're using 2 thermometers that work accurately. So I'm going to begin pouring ice cold water and measuring it out to give us 1 cup worth of water, which is 8 ounces. We'll pour it in the first cup. We want to have the same amount of cold water in both cups to keep the variables all the same except for the variable that we're changing. And another 8 ounces for the other cup. We'll give that a minute for the thermometer to catch up to the water temperature. We'll put the lid on that cup. And then we'll prepare for 15 minutes of time to go from the first reading, the temperature reading, to the second temperature reading. So let's zoom in and see the temperature of the first cup. It's at about 3 degrees Celsius. And the second cup is at about 3 degrees Celsius. So we'll see what happens after 15 minutes. We'll start the timer now. And let's see what happens. We're at the 15-minute mark for our metal cup cold water experiment. So let's zoom in and see the temperatures. In the first cup without a lid, the temperature is at 5 degrees Celsius after 15 minutes. And the other one is at, let's see, it looks like about 5 degrees Celsius with the lid. So here we have it. After 15 minutes of time, both of them are at 5 degrees Celsius.